Tennessee Titans fans, we are back today checking out another clip. This one from Mike Too Nice. Just posted 3 days ago. Is Will Levis, this is the title of the video, is Will Levis the next Josh Allen or Blake Bortles? Let's hope Josh Allen. I don't know what to expect from this one. I never do. But I just assume that it's always going to be upsetting. Here we go.
This 2024 season may be the one and only chance that Will Levis has to prove he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, think about it. There's no first-round pick investment attached to him, there's a new head coach in Tennessee, and it's not like young quarterbacks are given a long leash in the modern NFL. When you looked at Will Levis coming out of Kentucky, the guy had everything you needed to succeed in a physical sense. Listed at 6'4", 229 pounds, there really are no physical limitations to his game. To make
I will say, I do agree, if there is a lot of pressure in the sense that if he sucks, they will probably just go a different direction next offseason. Like, it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, well, we've paid him, we got to go with him. No, if he sucks, they could very well next offseason, at the end of this season, say, all right, let's get somebody else.
Things better, he has the arm you would imagine to match that frame. But as the video title suggests, it's not just about the size of the quarterback. We've seen plenty of quarterbacks with ideal statures that do not pan out in the NFL. Guys as recently as Trey Lance and Justin Fields, who had everything you wanted from a physical standpoint, but couldn't do the—
Let's not count Fields out yet. I get it with Lance. We don't have to just rule Justin Fields out quite yet. He's still got a chance.
Little things needed in order to succeed at the next level. And then there were the older examples like a Blake Bortles, a Jameis Winston, or a Josh Freeman. Sorry, Buccaneers fans. But the million-dollar question for Levis is, will he be one of those guys I just listed who had their fun moments but never amounted to anything? Or can he reach the heights of a Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert, and be regarded as one of the better quarterbacks in the game, who just happens to have great size as well? While we may not have the answer to that question yet, one thing, however, we know for sure is the Titans did everything in their power this offseason to ensure that Levis will have enough around him in order to succeed, which is the right thing to do, especially while your quarterback is—
It depends on who you ask, because I watch videos here every day that insist that Calvin Ridley's not good and Tony Pollard's not good and D-Hop's washed and, all these other guys are not good and everybody the Titans have signed is not good. And that's, so yes, on paper, absolutely, Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, Tyler Boyd, Burks, Spears, Pollard, that should all be good enough to put Will Levis in a position to succeed. But according to some of these goofs on YouTube and such, it's not.
Still on his rookie deal. Or else you'll end up like the Giants or Jets, pointing the finger at every other reason why the quarterback isn't doing well until there are no more excuses left to be made.
I will say I don't want to be that. If Will Levis is bad, we need to just acknowledge he's bad and move on. Like, if he comes out this year and he ain't it, I don't want to be the Giants with Daniel Jones. I do not want to be— who else? There's probably some other team out there that's locked in to somebody that they don't want to be. We're seeing a lot of quarterbacks getting paid money when they haven't exactly— you don't have a choice. For a guy like Tua or a guy like Trevor Lawrence, no, they haven't been consistently great, but what are you going to do? You either got to cut them or sign them. And they've been good enough that, you need to sign them, but I would rather Will Levis just be bad than that. I would rather him just be bad than, is he good or not? I don't want to play that game, nor do I want to play the game of, well, we paid him, so now we have to keep him. No, let's figure it out now before we pay him.
Getting into the player side of things, the Titans did the number one thing they could do to propel Will Levis' career. Aside from moving on from Mike Vrabel at head coach, who's known as a defensive-minded coach,
Thank you! This is the first video I've seen where somebody has acknowledged that it was a good thing for Will Levis to move on from Mike Vrabel. And you know what? He didn't take a shot at Vrabel. You don't have to take a shot at Vrabel. Vrabel's a defensive coach. He's a defensive coach. He is a solid defensive-minded head coach.
Titans also moved on from offensive coordinator Tim Kelly. Kelly was given 1 year to call plays following the release of Todd Downing, who called the Titans offense in 2021 and 2022. While Kelly wasn't awful and tried to bring a more modern approach to a Titans offense that really needed it, there were still some shortcomings. His offense was too predictable at times, but in fairness to him, it's not like the 2023 Titans were stacked with talent. But in January, the Titans made a head coaching hire of Brian Callahan, who was once the offensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals since 2019. Over there, he accumulated an impressive resume, including a Super Bowl appearance, and helped Jake Browning look pretty good at times in 2023. The Titans offense in 2024 should look somewhat similar to what the Bengals have been doing since Zach Taylor got there. A spread offense, lots of 11 personnel, motion, and a high pass rate. Overall, the Callahan hire is exciting and should be able to get the most out of Will Levis. It also helps knowing that the Sean McVay coaching tree has had positive returns so far, which is where Zach Taylor came from. Now onto the personnel side of things, where the Titans really opened up their wallet on the offensive side of.
See, I can handle stuff like that because, like, this guy's not saying Brian Callahan's going to be great, but he is saying, hey, there's reason for optimism, there's reason for excitement. We don't know till we see, but there's reason to be excited. This is much better than the people who just get on here and say he's going to suck because he's with the Titans. And it's the Titans, and I feel like they suck. I've been trained to believe they suck. I have been led to believe they suck based on just the way things used to be. And so I'm going to declare that he sucks as a coach because he's there.
The ball this offseason. Maybe the biggest surprise of free agency was when the Titans swooped in last minute and signed Calvin Ridley to a 4-year, $92 million contract. Ridley, who missed a year and a half of game action in 2021 and 2022, came back in 2023 to have a pretty successful season in Jacksonville. In total, he tallied 76 catches, just over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And as we know from that montage of dropped touchdowns, he definitely should have had a better season.
Bruh, 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 bruh.
Another concerning stat was
I mean, the sounds were funny. I think obviously there were. I mean, yeah, he probably dropped some passes, but I mean, my God, people drop passes. I also think you could watch some of the throws were not great. And some of those that they just showed now, those were tough catches. I mean, he's about to get paid $92 million, so you probably need to make some of them. But, I mean, you know, he took a year off, and he was in Jacksonville. Everybody knows everything in Jacksonville sucks.
The lack of efficiency, as Ridley ranked 49th among wideouts and yards per route run, sandwiched right between Adam Thielen and Jerry Jeudy. Not the best company. While Ridley is soon to be 30, he's still one of the better wide receiver 2s in the entire NFL at this point. Now, Tennessee did lose the man who had been their offense.
If he's going to pay $92 million, he better be higher than wide receiver 2. He's going to have to be wide receiver 1. All right. Also, I think there's something to be said when you watch those clips of him dropping, bruh, all the drops. I think there's also something to be said for, like, there was just not a strong connection between him and Trevor Lawrence. Sometimes that just happens. Sure seemed like they were not on the same page, even despite trying. So you have to hope Will Levis can get more on the same page with him than
offensive engine since 2018, which of course was Derrick Henry, but they tried to bring in a different style of back to supplement the loss. Heading into 2023, the hype around Tony Pollard was loud. He was probably a first-round pick in your fantasy leagues last year, and everybody was excited to see what he could do with Ezekiel Elliott out of the picture. While he did play in every game coming off an injury and just squeaked by the 1,000-yard rushing mark, his efficiency cratered. Coming into last season, Pollard's yards per attempt on the ground was a tremendous 5.1. Last year, though, it was just 4 flat, a full yard below his career average. It's possible that the hip drop tackle that ended his 2022 season had something to do with that, but before that moment, he was one of the more explosive players in the league. Now, nearly 2 years removed from that injury, the Titans expect him to get back to that player he once was.
Well, the dude yesterday whose video I watched just flat out said he's not good. So there's that.
Other big move for a skill position player was adding a receiver that was pretty familiar with the new head coach Brian Callahan. From 2019 to 2023, Tyler Boyd played slot receiver for the Bengals, while Callahan was the offensive coordinator. Boyd is not the flashiest receiver, but he's always been a solid player in the NFL. In 7 of his first 8 NFL seasons, Boyd's had at least 600 receiving yards and went over 1,000 yards in 2 of them. He'll more than likely be their slot guy who gets to play in a system he's familiar with. In 2023, the Titans' offensive line ranked dead last in the NFL according to PFF. The Andre Dillard thing did not work out, and Jalen Duncan behind him was just as bad when he filled in. They did what they could to make the line better in 2024, including spending a top 10 draft pick on J.C. Latham, who's expected to be the left tackle. Peter Skoronski, who's been playing left guard for them, was taken 11th overall the year prior, and they signed Lloyd Cushenberry at center in free agency. They did lose right guard Sadiq Charles to an unexpected retirement, but the hope is that drafted tackle Dylan Radins can win that job. As for Levis himself, there are things he should keep doing from last year, but he may
Good Lord, that was a bad rep from Skoronski right there on this
have to dial it back just a bit, and maybe more than a bit. For instance, Will Levis threw a deep pass on 22% of his attempts from last season. The next closest guy was not really that close at all. Nick Mullins was at 16%, but for guys who played over 10 games last year, Justin Fields was the next closest at 14%. While taking deep shots and taking chances results in some high upside explosive plays, he still needs to dial it back a bit. When almost a quarter of your passes
I agree. You got to keep it under control. We all love the deep ball, but you're not going to throw the deep ball all the time. Like, you've got to be able to just throw some mid-range, short-range balls. You don't have to just chunk it down there, especially last year when he was doing that. The Titans didn't even have a deep threat. I mean, really, Hopkins was the main one because, I guess Burks, maybe, but, like, there was nobody that was just blowing the roof off of a defense.
Over 20 yards, you're being way too aggressive. On the bright side though, Levis did rank second in the NFL among all quarterbacks in catchable pass rate on deep balls, so it wasn't like he was just throwing up some BS. When it came to the intermediate passing game, which is defined as a pass from 10 to 19 yards, Levis had an abysmal completion rate. He ranked dead last out of 41 quarterbacks who qualified, right below Bailey Zappi and Tommy DeVito. On short passes though, he was way more respectable, ranking 24th out of 44 quarterbacks who qualified.
I gotta say, I respect this guy because he has footage and stats to back up what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's actually put in the time to go look. So obviously it appears the mid-range pass is where Will Levis is going to have to get better. We know he can throw it deep, especially, Calvin Ridley, probably a much better deep threat than anybody the Titans had last year. The short-range game is going to be there with Pollard and Spears out of the backfield. I would think Tyler Boyd, stuff like that. But it's those mid-range, 3rd and 10, or longer, 3rd and 12 maybe when you get yourself in those situations. He's going to have to get better with that. And absolutely, I agree. There are no lies detected. He's going to have to get better at that. And I have faith that he can with Brian Callahan, new offense and new weapons. And hopefully a better offensive line. I do feel like he can get better, but this guy's telling the truth. He needs to get better at those mid-range balls and short-range too. He needs to get better at it all. I mean, let's be honest. That throw they just showed against Houston where he threw the interception, that was one of his dumber decisions of the year. I don't know what he was thinking on that play, but yeah, he's absolutely going to have to get better. I just think you have to put it in context and remember this guy was thrust into the position halfway through the year after Tannehill got hurt. And, they needed somebody coming out of a bye. It's not like he was put in the most ideal situation. We've already talked about the fact that a Vrabel offense is not exactly the bee's knees, all right? Not exactly the greatest thing in the world for a young quarterback. So, absolutely, these things are going to have to get better, and there's reason to believe that it will.
Put him ahead of guys like Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts. It's really a matter of fixing his accuracy on those medium distance throws, and he should look much better. There are the smaller concerns like taking too many sacks for one, but once again, the Titans left tackle spot was the equivalent of asking a random fan to man that spot each game.
Right.
Going off PFF's data that tries to identify which party's more responsible for allowing pressures, Levis actually ranked very well. Out of 43 quarterbacks, Levis ranked ranked 37th in percent of dropbacks where it was his responsibility for allowing pressure. To back up this stat, his teammate Ryan Tannehill also ranked pretty low at number 33 overall. It's even funnier when you sort out the columns by which position allowed the most pressure, and Tennessee's left tackle spot was by far the worst in the NFL. So we have two outliers. Will Levis took deep shots more than anybody else.
Dude, I can't even watch that footage of Andre Dillard trying to block. Was that TJ Watt? I think it's a combination. Yes, Will Levis, offensive line's going to have to be better. I mean, he had no time to throw a lot of times. But I will also say there are times where I feel like he holds onto the ball a little too long. He's going to have to get better at that too. Listen, he's going to have to get better at everything.
By a wide margin last year, and the Titans had the worst left tackle position in football by far. My last concern for Levis is he does not take care of himself. And no, I'm not saying he takes too many late night trips to Taco Bell, but he takes so many unnecessary big hits that you start to worry about his health. Even in the Titans' first preseason game this year, he took a massive hit at the goal line in a game that has no meaningful outcome. We saw this happen to Anthony Richardson last year. Sometimes the best thing to do is just slide and live to play another down, and in most cases for quarterbacks, that is the right thing to do. The more shots.
Yes, I agree again with this guy. I think that, there is a time and a place to lower that shoulder and try to get that first down. Okay, yes, there's a time and a place. Cam Newton in the Super Bowl that time against Denver when the ball's rolling free on the ground. Okay, that's time to put your body on the line and recover the ball. This, though, and I love Cam, but that was not it. This, though, I mean, when it's a preseason game, that's not the time. There's a time to get physical, and you got to be smart about when that is, because you got to preserve your body. We have found out time and time again, Titans fans, with guys like Jake Locker and guys like Marcus Mariota, if you can't take care of yourself and you can't even be on the field most of the time,
shots he takes, eventually it's going to catch up to him. So to answer the question today, is Will Levis the next Josh Allen or Blake Bortles? While I don't think it's fair to say Josh Allen because that seems pretty unreasonable, I do believe he's way closer to Allen than he is Blake Bortles. The upside to be a top 10 quarterback is there, but this may be his only real shot at achieving that. If his season's cut short due to injury or his accuracy is unplayable, then the Titans will probably be picking highly next year and have their chance to move on. They also may want another look at Malik Willis under this coaching staff and under this new scheme, so there's that aspect as well. I'm expecting a pretty good season overall, maybe like a 2019 Josh Allen type of thing, where his passing numbers were decent, the rushing numbers were definitely above average, and the Bills went 10-6 that year. And maybe instead of that, the Titans will have 8 or 9 wins, but still, it should be a similar season in my opinion. I'm just not expecting that Josh Allen 2020 type breakout, but 2019 was still a respectable season for him. And I know it's one of those intangible things, but it seems like he has that it factor. That big comeback on Monday Night Football at Miami last year, there was the video of him screaming at 11-year veteran DeAndre Hopkins on the sidelines, and he just has that I don't give a damn type attitude. There are some candidates who can take a massive leap at quarterback this year, and Levis may be the most overlooked. The excitement's for Anthony Richardson, no doubt, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels, but Levis kind of seems like that forgotten guy. Hopefully he does enough in 2024 to prove he's their long-term answer, because as I said before, 2025 is not guaranteed for this second-round quarterback. That's gonna do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe.
I agree with most everything he said, especially Will's gonna have to take better care of himself. This might be his only shot. I mean, I don't know how good he would have to be in order to be like, okay, we're sticking with him, but if he sucks, then they're probably going another direction next offseason. I don't know if I agree that they would be willing to put Malik in there, but, I think that, a lot of the success of this team is going to fall on Will Levis. I think there is reason for doubt. I'm going to be honest with you. There's reason to be like, man, I don't know. I don't know about this guy. But on the flip side of that, for fans, I think there's also reason for optimism. I think there's also reason for hope because he showed some good things last year too. I think the roster around him's better. I think Brian Callahan has a good history with quarterbacks. So there's reason for hope, there's reason for optimism, but also it needs to be cautious optimism. So I that was definitely one of the better videos I've seen because it was actually informational. If you wanted to know more about Will Levis, now you do. So kudos to that guy for a good video. Go give him some love. Bye, everybody.